All right, now we're going to get it started.
T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff.
Oh, yes. Welcome.
Yes,
You get the Horn Show. Good to see you, brother.
Yes, sir. You too.
All right, we got Tad and Jeff here tonight. And you know what? I'm going to explain this right up front, man. We've been talking about this for a little while. Tonight's the night that it happens. So we've been talking for a little while. Long-time listeners of this show, I say long time, we haven't been around that long, but those who have been with us from the beginning, we appreciate you. And we have been, as you know, on this show, we talk about a lot of different stuff. And we will spend half hour, 45 minutes, an hour talking about sports, and then all of a sudden switch into politics, current events, interesting stories, funny headlines, whatever we want to talk about, whatever's caught our interest over the last week, whatever's worth having an opinion about, we have it. So we've been talking for a little while now that the challenge, I think, with the show is if you tune in and you want to hear about politics and our take on it, which you really want to, trust me, because it's pretty interesting stuff we talk about. The problem is you're probably going to have to sit through 45 minutes of sports talk to be able to get to it. And likewise, if you're interested in sports and you're right in the middle of the conversation and we're talking about it and things are going, and then all of a sudden we totally take a left turn and we're talking about, how the money's being spent that the government's sending to Ukraine, or why the Maui wildfire, financial aid is being tied to money being sent to Ukraine, or any number of other crazy political things or different stories. All of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, this isn't what I wanted, because we talk about a bunch of interesting stuff and we've always tried to kind of cram it into one show. Problem is every episode is always bursting at the seams, and normally not only bursting at the seams, but just leaking all over the place. So we figured we'll never get through everything. So we've decided now to split it off. So we're going to have You Get the Horns Sports, and you're going to have You Get the Horns, what is essentially everything else, right? Politics, current events, headlines, funny stuff, breaking news, whatever. So we're going to split this off 2 episodes. And so hopefully we will be able now to tailor, a little bit more to exactly what the audience is looking for and wanting to see. So if you really care about sports, listen to the sports stuff, and then eventually check out what we have to say about other things, because you're going to like it. And if you're checking out what we have to say about everything else, man, you should probably check out our take on sports as well, because it's stuff you're not going to be hearing in the mainstream very often. So definitely worth a look. So with all that having been said, tonight we will be kicking off the first of our many, many, many to come You Get the Horn sports shows. And it's going to be a good time. So tonight, I think what we're going to do and what we've talked about is NFL season's about to kick off. Our YouTube followers will be able to see and hear this show on Wednesday. The podcast comes out on Thursday. Every podcast platform on the planet basically carries it. And so both of those will be perfect, because the NFL regular season kicks off Thursday night, and then all of the games come this weekend. So thought we would make our preseason picks, our pigskin prognostications, whatever you want to call it, going into the season. And I'm going to play right now exactly the amount that I believe I'm legally allowed to play without getting in trouble to get us ready for this. Okay, that's it.
Yep,
So now you know what we're talking about. Of course, NFL football's here. And hearing that music already got me pumped up, got the blood flowing. We're ready to talk sports and NFL tonight. So you and I are going to go through. We're going to make our picks. We're going to go conference by conference, division by division, and lay it out. So I'm going to kind of let you do the heavy lifting on this one and lead the way if you're down for it. And we'll take a little walk and see what we come up with tonight.
Yeah. Excited. About to spend the next 8.5 hours on a Sunday in front of the TV with Mr. Scott Hansen, and
That's right.
enjoying a long day of football. we looked into the YouTube TV NFL subscription on that. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if it's enough I'm going to pull the trigger on, but it's interesting. So I'll be curious to see what the numbers are going to look like on that when they all come out. So I guess they're still DirecTV still doing it for like the bars and places like that.
Right.
I think they're still having it. So get your subscriptions ready. So what I was thinking today when we were going through these, what I'd like to do is just go through first off through each division, and just a simple, well, maybe not simple, but a yes or no with maybe a little more added to it. Did the teams get better, get worse, or stay the same? Okay. And then we can kind of go back and make our picks. So I know it's something we haven't talked about, so I'm not going to expect you to have all of the players that got drafted and signings and everything else, but just from what we know, did each
we keep up pretty better? Well, though. So yeah,
we do. We
can
do.
roll with
we're not going to remember. I'm sure there's going to be the one comment of like, "Oh, well, you forgot that they signed, this guy to the practice squad." And, oh, sorry. So, all right, let's start with the AFC East. The reigning division champ Buffalo Bills. Do we think they got better? Do we think we got worse? Or do we think they stayed the same?
So this is kind of an interesting thing for me here, because I actually believe that in the AFC East, staying the same is getting worse. Mm-hmm. And I think that the Bills in many ways misplayed their hand, because they were content to stay the same in a division where every other team not only has been getting better, but has gotten significantly better. And the Bills have kind of stayed the same, which automatically in that division makes you worse. I mean, look at what the Jets have done. Clearly, we don't even need to talk about anyone else. You just look at the Jets alone. The balance of power, at least on paper, has shifted in that division, because arguably the Jets have the best roster. So again, you said we'll keep it quick. I could go on and on, but in general, I would say the Bills got worse because they stayed the same.
Yeah. I mean, some of the draft picks get hit, which is going to be good, but I think we've been barking from day one that they really messed up not trying to get one of these stud running backs. They just had a price, and I just don't think they were willing to go past it or go over it. And, far be it for me to argue that they did something wrong, because they've been very successful these past couple of years. But it feels like they're at a point where they're flatlining a little bit.
Yes. The window feels like it's closing. The window feels, to me, if you look at the other teams they have to get by, they have to get by Kansas City. If you knew nothing about anything else, they've got to manage to get by Kansas City alone. And then when you look at the improvements that are made with the Jets, and you've got, of course, obviously in other divisions with the Ravens and the Steelers and these two, it's not easy to make it to the Super Bowl or even far into the playoffs out of the AFC. Right. They have to be all in, and it just doesn't feel like they are.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think they're always going to be good with Josh Allen. I don't think there's ever going to be, but the current iteration of this team, they went for it, and now Von Miller's starting the year on PUP. So you're missing such a key contributor, but you could get him back in the middle of the season, and it could be a blessing in disguise, I suppose. So I'm going to say, I feel like they stayed the same. I don't think they got worse, but I agree with you that de facto not getting better kind of makes you worse. So finished 13-3 last year. The Miami Dolphins actually finished second in the division last year. And you remember at one point, we're actually leading that division before Tua just got messed up badly. And that team just, they still finished 9-8. So what do we think? Miami Dolphins, do we think we got better, worse, stayed the same?
I'm going to say that the Dolphins got better. I mean, they'll be better if they only just manage to have a healthy Tua for the full season, right? I mean, that alone, I don't think there's been a massive change on the Dolphins. At least nothing that's jumping out at me right away. And I'm sure I'm missing something, but I just think another year under Mike McDaniel, another, season with Tua, if he can be healthy and play for the full season, they'll be a better team.
Sure. Yeah, I think so too. I mean, they with Tua just being healthy, I think alone makes makes a big difference. They did bring in. I'm gonna lose my thought process here. The safety. Who'd they bring in?
Yeah. I'm gonna draw a blank. I'm not gonna remember. It doesn't matter.
Sure. Sure.
Either way,
So,
they're we'll say that they're better.
I would say yes. I think they've made themselves. I think they're better. Yeah, I do. All right. So now we've got the New England Patriots, finished 8-9, actually third in that division.
Boy. The Patriots. I'm gonna. I don't feel like they've gotten better. I'm gonna say that they've stayed the same, but man, they're at severe risk of being worse.
Yeah, I think so too.
I mean, this is going to be a make or break year for Mac Jones. 100% make or break for Mac Jones. They have pushed all the chips into the middle of the Mac Jones table by releasing Bailey Zappi and whoever the other one was, and Malik Cunningham.
Cunningham.
And so I just think that they're all in, and that team's going to go as Mac Jones goes. And they will be better just by having some better delineation on their coaching staff. The disastrous experiment they had last year clearly didn't work. So they'll be better from that perspective, and that was so misguided. But outside of that, it's just going to be Mac Jones. I'm going to say they stayed the same, but I'm not confident in them.
Yeah, bring in Matt Corral. De facto, I guess, now becomes the second string quarterback. I don't know if they've ever, because they did eventually sign Zappi and Cunningham back to the practice squad, which kind of is surprising that no one would have picked Zappi up on to be, on the 53. I don't know, because there was at one point where you thought for at least for a game or two that Zappi might be better than Mac Jones. Now, I still like Mac Jones. I'm still a believer in Mac Jones. So we'll see. And then, of course, I don't even think we have to discuss it. The Jets probably were the team that out and out just got better. And they were 7-10 last year, and they were 7-10 with some awful quarterback play.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. They're bringing Aaron Rodgers. You did well. You signed Alan Lazard. You built that team up. So I really doesn't even need to be discussed. Going to the AFC North, Cincinnati Bengals.
Again, I think they stayed the same. Nothing's really changed for the Bengals. They're a talented team. I still don't know that they're good enough. They're kind of like the Bills, in my opinion, where I think they could do it, but it's getting crowded.
They had their opportunity. And that's just, that's tough. I mean, they, you would think maybe even on that defense, they may have gotten a little worse because they certainly lost a couple of, some starters on that team. And then, we talked about it, it's coming due. The paycheck's coming due for Mr. Burrow. So it's a now this year feels like more than ever, like this is a must win year for them. If they're going to do anything, this is going to be it. So
agreed.
I think they stayed the same, possibly got a little worse, but we'll see. Baltimore, I think also with the Baltimore, I personally think they got better. But it all hinges again on Lamar, with Lamar being healthy. But you got that drama out of the way that was going on for 3 months. Finally get that out of the way. I think they improved in the draft. It just, you got to hit on those receivers at some point. You can't draft all those number one receivers or first round receivers and not hit. Zay feels like the real deal. We shall see. And then, of course, you got Mark Andrews, who's going to be probably the second best tight end in the league this year. So yeah, I think. Yeah, I think they got better. You're going to have a full year with Roquan now, which is huge. So I think just building up to it, I'm going to go that they got better.
Yeah, obviously, right? I mean, there is a Ravens helmet sitting right behind me here on the shelf. So, but this is not a biased pick, in my opinion. I think the Ravens got massively better.
I didn't say
and
all
the
that.
reason that I say that they did is, yes, you got Lamar taken care of, and you've solidified, the defense with Roquan, as you mentioned. But then you look at just the depth. Look at the weaknesses that they had and the way that they were addressed, right? And so, what was always the weakness on the team was the wide receiver position. Now, health is always going to come into play with any team, but realistically, if you look at on paper that wide receiver group that they have, I mean, you mentioned Zay Flowers, and then there's Odell Beckham Jr., then there's Rashad Bateman, who was a first-round pick just a couple of years ago, and Nelson Aguilar. And then you still do have Mark Andrews, and then you have, some other guys, some young tight ends that made some noise last year. Isaiah Likely came up big in some games last year. Charlie Kohler. So, I mean, they just have that depth where it's incredibly difficult to figure out who you can effectively guard and double team. And then with that running game with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, and, I just think that there's a lot there. And all of that means you've freed things up for Lamar. There can't be stacking the box anymore. So whether that's Lamar running the ball or whether it's J.K. Dobbins or Gus Edwards running the ball, I just think that, it's going to be very difficult. They're a much, much more well-rounded team than they had been previously. And we'll see what happens with Todd Monken as the new offensive coordinator, but based in, history, receivers did very well, with Todd Monken. And so, I have absolutely no doubt that providing that there's health, I think the Ravens got massively better.
Yeah, I can go with that. I won't say massively, but I'll say they got better.
It has nothing to do with the fact there's a Steelers banner hanging behind you, right?
Nothing at all. Speaking of the team that probably did the best free agency in the offseason, the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's just fact.
Yeah.
Finished 9-8 last year. Did well. I mean, they really truly did have an amazing offseason with draft picks, with free agent signings, everything that they needed to address, they've addressed. It's all going to come down to Kenny Pickett. But you saw what he did the last half of the season. He was the second highest rated quarterback behind Joe Burrow last season at the last 7 games of the year. We saw what he did in preseason. It's preseason, but I mean, the story would be completely different if he were to throw 3 interceptions in the preseason and complete, 30% of his passes, but he didn't. He was pushing 80% of his passes and just leading him up and down the field the way you're supposed to do. Went out and addressed the offensive line, which they needed to do. They did such a great job there. In the draft, they did awesome. Like I said, you're looking at, you're looking at, Darnell Washington as, second tight end right now. I'm sure they got Connor Hayward as a second tight end, but, Darnell's is going to be such a huge red zone presence. Left tackle, you still got Dan Moore there at left tackle, but drafted Broderick Jones in the first round. A healthy TJ Watt. You're re-signing Alex Highsmith, so you've got him taken care of. You bring in, you let go Miles Jack. You bring in Cole Holcomb to take his spot, which is such an upgrade. You bring in, Desmond King after he gets cut. Just great pickups. You got Joey Porter Jr. carrying on the legacy there. You still got Minka, Patrick Peterson coming in as a free agent. So yeah, I think they markedly did better this year. So I don't think you can argue that they definitely upgraded over the preseason, over the season.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, they're definitely better. Where that puts them, that remains to be seen.
That North is nasty, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely better. I think the thing that's tricky is, even when you look, and there is the difference, right? And this is where I'm so curious. In fact, I was talking with our buddy T-Rock the other night, which I hopefully he'll be able to be on the show again sometime soon to weigh in on some of this stuff too. But you look over those last 5 games that you were talking about with Kenny Pickett. Clearly a much better quarterback. I mean, if Kenny Pickett is the Kenny Pickett of the second half of the season last year, then the Steelers are in playoff contention. If he's the Kenny Pickett of the first half, it's going to be tough sledding. And the reality is, when you look statistically, take QB rating out of it, Pickett's stats were not exactly impressive, just from a quarterback position, right? Like just looking at them super briefly, last game of the season against the Browns, he was 13 of 29, 195 yards, 1 touchdown. Game before that against the Raiders, he was better, 26 of 39, 244 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. So I think that, you're in that position where if he continues that evolution, that growth, then I think he's going to be very good. I think the difference was he got good enough in the second half of the season last year that teams at least had to respect the passing game more. And that was the problem in the first half with Trubisky in there. Nobody was really worried about them being able to throw the ball. And so you could stack the box, you could sell out on the pass rush, and that made it incredibly difficult. Kenny Pickett does not need to be Patrick Mahomes. He just needs to be better than Kenny Pickett last year. And I think if he can do that and be a, he doesn't need to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Can he be a Dak Prescott, right? Can he be a top 15 quarterback in the NFL? And I think he can. I don't see any reason why he can't. No. But if he can, then that's going to be a huge help for that team. So in those ways, they got better already without that. Again, similarly to what we were talking about, with some of these other teams, they go by how he performs for sure.
Sure. Yeah. I think with any team, there's never a team that's gonna have a quarterback that plays terrible and you still win games. So it always comes down to quarterback play.
Yeah. He's just very unknown when it comes to that. That's where the more questions for him.
He wasn't supposed to play last year. Trubisky was supposed to take that step up. The hope is that Trubisky would have played just lights out. And and he did at times. He did it like against the Ravens. That boy was just chewing the Ravens up, but every incompletion was an interception.
He went in that game he went 22 of 30. For 276 yards, right? Sounds pretty awesome. 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions.
Yeah.
Including at just back-breaking times.
They were always on great drives. They were just driving up and down the field, big chunk plays, and then just an anomaly interception. So, I think my bold prediction is by the end of the year, Kenny Pickett will be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. And I think he'll stay there. Can he rise above it? I mean, it's going to take some of these guys obviously falling off, getting older, whatever. But I think, my prediction is he'll be a top 10 quarterback by the end of the year. Of course, we're saying all this, health has everything to do with it, because if Lamar goes down, the Ravens, you're not going to expect the Ravens to do anything. If Joe Burrow goes down, you're not expecting the Bengals to do anything. No. It's so quarterback driven, so quarterback heavy these days that if you lose your starter, unless you're the San Francisco 49ers, you're probably not. So, all right. Yep. And the last team that finished again below the Pittsburgh Steelers, as they have done every year since their existence, the Cleveland Browns. I don't think they got any better. Nothing stands out to me with them. Of course, nothing ever stands out to me with the Cleveland Browns. I will say this. I think at the end of the year, You did see Deshaun Watson play much better the last few games of the year, which is probably, something that's big, for them. Look out for Dorian Thomas Robinson.
Mhm.
I love this kid coming out of UCLA. I actually wanted the Steelers to take him if he was available. Of course, he wasn't. Goes to them. Played just lights out in the preseason. So if Deshaun falters, I don't think they're going to be afraid to pull the plug. They already traded Josh Dobbs.
Yeah.
And cemented this kid, a rookie, into that second spot. So Cleveland must think pretty highly of him. But again, it's all going to come down to Deshaun Watson. Played 8 games. What did he play last year? Did he play 8 games last year?
Something like that. I'm not sure.
Something like that, right? Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what he ended up playing. 6 games last year. So 7 touchdowns, 5 picks. Nothing amazing. But of course, he hadn't played at that point for almost 2 years at that point. I mean, just wasted.
Takes a little time to ease back in.
Yeah. So with Deshaun, if he's the Deshaun of the last couple of games of the year, I could say probably Cleveland got better. But we'll see. He's the biggest X factor right there. Can he regain that form that he had, 2-3 years ago? I guess probably at this point, 3 to 4 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Can he regain that MVP form? If he can, that's a scary team. That's a good team. They're always Cleveland to me, and they always will be Cleveland to me until they prove otherwise. Yeah. But if Deshaun is the Deshaun of old, that's going to be a good team to go along with like Nick Chubb, who's just a consistent running back, through and through. On the wide receiver side, you still got Amari Cooper, but outside of him, no one else is really scaring me. I'm not sure Donovan Peoples-Jones makes you, stay up at night wondering how to guard him. And I imagine he's probably their second best. So.
Yeah, I mean, other than the tight end, David Njoku is probably
Njoku
is probably like their second best receiver, so to speak.
Yeah,
at the tight end position. I'll tell you an interesting stat. Amari Cooper for the Cleveland Browns this year, if he is able to have at least 1,000 yards receiving, he will be the first player in the history of the Cleveland Browns to have back-to-back 1,000-yard receiving seasons. Can you imagine that that's possible?
That's like a highlight.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
gosh.
Because here's the thing: the Cleveland Browns, I think, have been around since like 1944.
Yeah.
How is it possible that you could be in that situation?
Yeah.
That they've never had that. It looks like, yes, they started in the All-American Football Conference in 1946. So it's from 1946 to now, they've never had a wide receiver with back-to-back 1,000-yard receiving seasons. And Amari Cooper could be the first. He had 1,100 some odd yards last year, 1,105 yards or something. I don't have it in front of me. So
how is that
he
possible?
could be the one.
How do you not luck into that?
I know. It's crazy.
How is that a thing?
Look, if someone can correct me, they're welcome to, but I saw the stat the other day and double checked it, and I did not find anything that countered that. They've had 1,000-yard receivers, but back-to-back 1,000-yard receiving seasons hasn't happened for a wide receiver in their history.
Is insane.
When you look at what does Cincinnati have? I think Cincinnati probably had 3,000-yard receivers last year between Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd, right? So it's I mean, it's just crazy. So watch out for some history being made this year in Cleveland, potentially with Amari Cooper. Look, to wrap up really quickly on that, because I know we got a lot to cover and we've taken too long already on just one, on that division. But I'll agree with you on Cleveland. Look, every year Cleveland has the best team on paper. Every single year they're the paper champs, man. I mean, they have the best roster if you're just looking at it. I mean, this year they lost Jadeveon Clowney. I don't know how big of a loss that's really been for them, but it'll have an impact on them for sure.
Yeah. Great
you know,
line
yeah,
play. Always, always great line play. Of course, I mean, they signed all of we talked about it, I don't know how they do it, but all of their offensive linemen
yeah,
have like, it feels like 5-year, $900 million contracts. I have no idea how they do it, but they
yeah,
manage to. So always strong up front. You
yep.
know, you're looking at, what am I thinking of?
Miles Garrett.
Miles Garrett, geez.
Yeah.
You know, is potential MVP, defensive
Hmm.
MVP. So yeah, again, on paper, always you're absolutely correct.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't expect them to, to be a great team just because, history has taught us that they're not going to be, and they'll find a way to screw it up. But look, they have the talent, so there's no issue there. I mean, they have the ability to be a dangerous team. I don't know if they will be, but they could be.
Right. We'll see. All right, let's go rapid fire here because we spent a lot of time on here, and we still have the AFC South and NFC West, and then the entire NFC.
Yeah,
All right, so just quick.
Fly.
We'll go quick yes or no. Did they get better? Jacksonville.
Yes, because they're going to have Calvin Ridley back, and that's going to be
100%.
massive for them.
Exactly. Tennessee Titans.
Oh, ordinarily, I would say no, but they brought in DeAndre Hopkins, and everything else stayed the same. I'm going to say they improved. I don't know how much, but I think they got a little better.
Indianapolis Colts.
Oh, I mean, they had to have gotten better, except there's so many unknowns. I mean, now you have a rookie quarterback. You have jury's still out, but I'm going to say they got better.
Yeah, I'm going to say they got worse. I mean, because now you've got the whole Jonathan Taylor situation. He's out now for 4 games, rookie quarterback. I'm going to say they got worse. Houston Texans.
You gotta think they got better. I mean, you gotta hope they got better if they have CJ Stroud a quarterback and he works out. I mean, they took some big swings in the draft. I mean, that's really where Houston made their inroads. They took massive swings in the draft, and if they work out, then they're going to be a much better team.
Yeah. Just with bringing D'Amico in, I think you automatically get an upgrade on my book. I think the jury's out on CJ Stroud. I mean, until an Ohio State quarterback can prove otherwise, that's a big gamble. And if they're bad, they've also now given up their first round draft pick to the Arizona Cardinals, who theoretically could have 2 first-round picks in the top 5 this year if we think Houston will be as bad as they were. Can Houston improve on their 3-13-1 record from last year? Yeah, I think so. But by how much? That's the question. So for me, the jury's out on Stroud. Again, it's just that Ohio State bias.
Very fair. So, very fair.
Here's an interesting one. Moving into the West, the Kansas City Chiefs. Do we think they got any better? Could they get any better?
Well, that's the whole thing. Did they need to get better? I mean, I don't think there is an argument that they needed to get better or really hardly could get better. Based on how some things have shaken out here very recently, you would believe that they would have gotten worse. Now, that worse may still be good enough, but worse, particularly with this Chris Jones situation. You and I were talking a little bit about this before the show, but the Chris Jones situation dragging on. Right now, he is projecting that he's willing to be patient and hold out 8 games if that's what he needs to do. The guy wants to get paid, not only like Aaron Donald, he wants to get paid more than Aaron Donald, because the argument for Chris Jones, if you're him, is yes, Aaron Donald got this massive, deal, but that was like when did he sign? 2020, something like that.
Yeah,
21. It was a few years ago. So Chris Jones is going to say, well, why would I only be getting what Aaron Donald got a few years ago? I should be setting the market for what it is now. And that's the hard part, because even if you're at Kansas City and you came to Chris Jones and said, okay, man, we're going to pay you what Aaron Donald gets paid. There's every possibility, and maybe you could argue that he has every right and reason to say, well, that's not enough for me. That's where it gets tricky.
Yeah, that's tough for me, man, because I don't know. I mean, he's 29 years old. I mean, he's fantastic. He really is. Is he worth? Is he even worth Aaron Donald money of 2-3 years ago. I don't know. I mean, that's tough, man. I guess I'll let someone else decide that for me, but that's a lot to give up on him. So
Yeah.
I will say I think they got worse, to be honest. But again, does that matter? I don't know. I mean, you have Patrick Mahomes, and that might be all you really need. He's kind of like this, our past eras, Peyton Manning, where you didn't have that. Of course, he had Marvin Harrison, but outside of Harrison, it was always, just kind of fill in wide receivers. I mean, right now, his best wide receiver, I don't know. I mean, you got Kadarius Toney, Marquez Valdez, Scantling, Sky Moore as probably your starters. Does any of those guys make you say, "Woo, goodness gracious, how are we gonna guard these guys?" Of course, you got Travis Kelce, who is far and away, in my opinion, the best tight end in the league and on his way to being the best tight end ever. But outside of that, I don't know. None of those guys are. I mean, none of those are number one receivers on any other team right now, right? I mean,
no argument to be made.
You just have Patrick Mahomes.
They overcome it by incredible coaching and incredible quarterback play. And when it comes down to it, if you had to pick the formula to win in the NFL, it's have the best coach and have the best quarterback. If you do those two things, I mean, look at Brady and Belichick all those years, right? It's like if you can accomplish those two things, you will always go far. And even teams that just have that consistently good quarterback and head coach. I mean, again, Ben Roethlisberger and Mike Tomlin. You look across the eras, and it's always been that. It's if you have a really good head coach and a really good quarterback, you can overcome most other deficiencies. And that's really what the Kansas City has been able to do better, probably than anyone, really, at accomplishing that.
Running back starter is Isaiah Pacheco, Jerick McKinnon, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Again, I'm sorry, Chiefs fans, you're not scaring anyone with these guys. It's just the Patrick Mahomes effect, I suppose. So it's interesting with them. They were 14-3 last year, so we'll see. All right, rapid fire here. Los Angeles Chargers, better, worse, same.
Gosh, who cares? I mean, I'm going to say they stayed the same. It's the Kellen Moore factor is the only thing that we don't know because they needed a legitimate coach and they didn't fire their coach in Brandon Staley. Clearly, Kellen Moore is the coach in waiting so that when Staley does screw up, they already have their head coach. That's clearly the plan. If you're the Chargers, you brought in Kellen Moore to be the offensive coordinator. You should have fired Brandon Staley last year. So one misstep there, Kellen Moore takes over. So for that reason, they could be better, but they stayed the same.
I think they stayed the same. Las Vegas Raiders. I'm going to say they got worse. I mean, you're going from Derek Carr to Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, automatically, you're just not expecting Garoppolo is going to make it through the year. I mean, you just got to expect it. He's fantastic when he's available as far as a game manager, but he's never lighting the scoreboard up. So, I'm going to say they got worse.
Yeah, look, I mean, other than Aiden O'Connell, who was awesome in the preseason for the Raiders and got Raiders fans very excited when Garoppolo inevitably does get injured, that they get a chance to see him. Outside of that, I mean, there's nothing to point to. And now you saw these most recent things literally just broke about Chandler Jones being unhappy with the team. Nobody's communicating with him. They don't want him working out at the facility, apparently. He's saying he has to work out at like a high school gym or something. And he hasn't talked to the coach or the GM.
Weird.
So if he's upset and you downgraded from Derek Carr, I mean, you had to have gotten worse as a team.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you again, you always got Josh Jacobs. And you always have
finally got him signed.
Yeah, which was good. And then you have Devontae Adams. So that offense is always going to keep you in games. The defense, I just don't see that they've gotten better, to be honest. So
no, and they lost Darren Waller too, and losing Darren
Right.
Waller is huge in that offense because
such
you
a-
had
yeah.
an excellent tight end, a great wide receiver, and a very good running back.
Yeah.
And then those are the things you want to build around. And instead, I mean, it's tough without Waller there too.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at Austin Hooper now as your starting tight end. No, he's not close to that level. So, and then the Denver Broncos, 100% got better just by bringing Sean Payton in. If anyone's going to turn around Russell Wilson, it's going to be Sean Payton. Now, he made some just scummy, real scumbag moves with the whole talking about, previous regime there and everything. Just weird. I mean, it was pretty much just hey guys, this is what they left me with, if they really end up being bad, or like, hey, I'm a really good coach. Look what I did, with this team.
Keep the bar low.
Yeah. I mean, and he really did that. He kept the bar low, but you cannot underestimate him as an offensive genius. I mean, he might be second to Andy Reid. I mean, possibly all time as far as, being able to coach that. So I think they got markedly better with bringing Sean Payton in. Good hire. Cowboys fans are probably kicking themselves wanting one more year. So,
yeah.
But I think that's to me, they got way better just by bringing in Sean Payton.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing they could control. You're stuck with Russell Wilson. So now it's how do we get the most out of our investment? And the best way to do that is control the controllables. And you say, okay, we're stuck with Russell Wilson. What's our best chance of making Russell Wilson better? Let's get in a really, really good coach, very offensive minded, who's had success with quarterbacks, including Jameis Winston, a guy who does not seem to have the mentality to play quarterback, but he has the physicality. And Peyton has been able to, have that guy throw for 33 touchdowns. So if he can do that with Jameis Winston, if Russell Wilson has anything left, Sean Payton's going to be able to get it out of him.
Yeah. All right. Well, that concludes the AFC. That was about 40 minutes. So now we have to do mega rapid fire here with the NFC.
I'm ready.
All right. We're going to start with the division conference champs, the Philadelphia Eagles.
I'm going to say they got better. Only through the draft. But that draft, I mean, they pulled some really strong people in that draft, man. Jalen Carter, it could be an absolute monster. I got to say they got better.
Yeah, Jalen Carter, turn around and get, was that Nakobe Dean? Right there. They did such a great job with that draft. Ended up getting Nolan Smith. So they did lose some offensive linemen, but, Jason Kelsey comes back. You still got Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson. So they still Lane Johnson.
This is mega rapid fire.
Yeah. So this is semi-automatic rapid fire. I'm going to say they stayed the same. Okay. I think they lost a good bit. All right, Dallas Cowboys lose their offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Mike McCarthy is now running the show. Already says, we want to be more of a run team. It just smells like disaster.
I feel like every year, the Cowboys get worse. This, we've talked about this on the show. That's just a team I don't understand and I don't like or respect. So almost every year I'm going to say they got worse. This particular year, I mean, there's so many unknowns, but I have absolutely no reason to trust them. So I'm going to say that they got worse.
Yeah, I think if anything, they stayed the same. I mean, you still got Micah Parsons, you still got DeMarcus Lawrence. For whatever you say, whatever you want about Dak, I mean, he's still a top 12 quarterback in the league. You did lose Zeke, but Tony Pollard's right there. Of course, you still got CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, Michael Gallup. I think they probably stayed the same, and they were 12-5 last year. So, I mean, they were a good team. All right, New York Giants.
I'm gonna say they got better. You added Darren Waller at tight end. If you did nothing else other than that, and you were able to keep, most of your other players, you did well, and they accomplished that. They got Saquon sorted, at least for right now, and they signed Darren Waller. So I think they got better.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Washington.
I'm going to tell you, Washington got a lot better.
I think so too. I think so too. And they were 8-1 last year, so they got minimally 2 wins better. I mean, I would think so. So yeah, again, we talk about this. It's quarterback.
Yeah,
but they brought in an amazing backup quarterback that can lead the team, who led Cleveland very well, and Jacoby Brissett. So if he falters, I don't think it will be very long that you'll see Jacoby Brissett
but it's a full season of Sam Howell with Eric Bieniemy. Plus what they did in the draft. I mean, the sort of Emmanuel Forbes there that they added at the cornerback position. I mean, there's just they've made some good moves. They're still a very under the radar team, but I think, and let's not forget, I mean, we're looking at a potentially healthy Chase Young this year. Things could improve there. I think they're still going to be very under the radar, but I don't think you'll necessarily want to play them.
No, I think they're going to be, again, to me, it comes down, Sam Howell is going to be a big one, and then coaching. I mean, again, we think Bieniemy's brought in to be the de facto, the head coach in waiting. Of course, that was with the old regime. So we'll definitely see kind of what happens there, with them, and whether or not they, how long Rivera stays there. I guess I got to be careful what I say there about Ron Rivera. I know people love him. I outside of having cancer, I'm not sure that guy was going to be. I don't think he would still be there. He's been nothing but just meh to me. I mean, as far as coaches go, I mean, they called him Riverboat Ron. That dude wasn't gambling anything last year. So it's just the weird things he said too, like just talking about, like, had I known how good Sam Howell was, I would have started him way earlier than that.
Well, even last year, he didn't know when they were going to be eliminated from the playoffs.
Yeah. Oh, we can be eliminated?
Yeah. Like
that's literally a soundbite now. If you listen to any stations in the DC area, that's literally a soundbite. We can be eliminated? And then saying, like, we didn't know, if I had known what we had in Sam, that's your job to know. All right, whatever. All right. Yeah. Minnesota Vikings.
I got to say they got worse. You can't lose Dalvin Cook and keep everything else the same and then say you got better. Yeah. So you could say that they stayed the same. I would lean towards saying that they got worse.
I mean, is Alexander Madison or Myles Gaskin going to, right. Nah, yeah. That's a weird one to me. I still don't quite understand the whole letting him go. Unless they really think Madison is something special. But I mean, you're in a win now situation. I mean, Cousins isn't getting any younger. That's weird. Yeah. I agree. I think they got worse. Detroit Lions.
Better. I'm going to be curious with, Jahmyr Gibbs. But I just think that they got all the pieces already. So if they already had all those pieces and now you added players that they're extremely excited about having, like a Jahmyr Gibbs, I got to think they got better. Now, I don't think they got massively better. I think it's just on the other side of the line from staying the same and getting better. But I do think they got a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, you let Jamal Williams go. He signs in New Orleans. Yeah. And the guy had 17 touchdowns last year. How do you replace that?
Right.
So maybe those are more passing touchdowns this year. I don't know, but 17 touchdowns is 17 touchdowns, regardless if they were all 1 yard run-ins, which they weren't. But regardless of how those were, that's still 17 touchdowns. So
you're right.
That's a tough one for me. I don't know what to think of the Lions. I really don't. I really don't. I'm going to say they stayed the same. Green Bay Packers.
Look, I don't think that you could say at this point that the Packers could get better by losing one of the best quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. Jordan Love could turn out to be great. The likelihood of that happening is infinitesimal, that you could possibly go from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers and then move right into Jordan Love and he be also incredible, right? We've seen it happen with back-to-back quarterbacks incredibly rarely. And of course, we know who we're talking about, right? We're talking about Joe Montana and Steve Young. You know, it's like these are the types, it's happened a few times that you could point to. The likelihood of it happening 3 straight times is just literally infinitesimal. Maybe it happens, but the reality is on paper right now, they're worse. Worse without Aaron Rodgers.
They were 8-9 last year with Aaron Rodgers. So I don't think they got worse. They can win 8 games this year. I'm going to say they stayed the same. Huh? That might be a bold take, but I've seen some throws Jordan Love has made that have impressed me. Now, outside of those throws, can he do the little things that, you know, I don't know. So I'm going to say they stayed the same. All right, Chicago Bears.
Better.
Yeah,
better.
I say it. I agree.
They're a better team.
I agree.
They could.
Again, they won 3 games last year, so it's hard not to have gotten better.
It's true, yes. But I'll tell you, they could be a shocker. They could win that division.
Whew, okay.
I'm not saying they will, but they could. I think the door is wide open for them right now. They've now given Justin Fields having another season, and they've given him a true number 1 receiver. They've made some good moves in the draft. You know, the Bears could be tricky to play.
All right, we got 2 divisions left.
Roll.
We're a little over 50 minutes here, so this is just going to be better, worse, nothing else to it. Tampa Bay.
Worse.
Carolina Panthers.
Better.
New Orleans Saints.
Better.
Atlanta Falcons.
Ooh. Better.
San Francisco 49ers.
Worse.
Same. Meaning they stayed the same. Seattle Seahawks.
Better.
Los Angeles Rams.
Gosh, they're bad. Worse because of the Cooper Kupp lingering hamstring injury that he's now had to go outside of the team to try to get any help for.
They're now the 2nd youngest team in the NFL. That is a rebuild there. Yeah. They won 5 games last year. I'm going to say they stayed the same. Arizona Cardinals.
Oh, worse on top of worse on top of worse. Worse on worse on worse. The Cardinals suck. And they don't need to just get rid of the players. They need to get rid of the coaches, the ownership, the general, like just clean house of the whole organization. Maybe just rebuild a whole new stadium if you need to. But that place sucks. The Arizona Cardinals are horrible. And it is, I said it last week, that it is criminal what the Arizona Cardinals are doing to their fans. And I still feel that way.
So you're saying get rid of the coaching staff, even though it's a brand new coaching staff. You heard it say get rid
Everybody goes. Don't care. Yeah, brand new coach. You had your chance in the preseason.
I mean, have you seen some of that stuff that Jonathan Gannon, like the pep talks? It's so weird and awkward. It's so
Gannon
bad.
Has all of the feeling and ingredients of a one and done head coach. I just
really
feel
does.
It's all there for him to be one and done.
I wonder if they are immediately just regretting it. I will tell you, I have on good authority that there was no Philadelphia Eagle fan that cared one bit that Jonathan Gannon left that team. I was shocked because that was a good defense.
Yeah.
Not a one that I have run into cared one bit for that guy. So I don't know what that is, but just hearing those like pep talks and the things that he was, none of it made sense. Like
No.
it was like he was trying to be like this like real motivational guy. It's just so
Yeah, it was the other day. It was like, how
awkward.
many of you drove here? People are like, yeah. How many
Yeah,
of you rode a bus? And people are like, no. And he's like, well, I need you to get fired up because we need to want to be. It's like, wait, what? What does that mean?
yeah,
Okay. I mean, yeah, I didn't ride a bus here. Is that what I should have done as a professional athlete? Wouldn't you have advised me against riding a bus? Like, it should be who rode a bus here. You're in trouble. You're getting fined for riding a bus. Like, does that show I'm more fired up?
You know, and he had to have been like in his office, like, okay. And he had to think that one through.
Yeah.
Like, sure, please tell me that wasn't off the cuff. Like,
Hit him
actually,
with the
tell
bus
me it
speech.
was.
Yeah.
You know, tell me it was off the cuff. I probably should say, and not something that he went and thought through. Like,
Tell me you had food poisoning and you just,
you're just real dehydrated.
yeah, you're just totally out of it.
You tried to lose some weight and took some Ozempic or something. You know, I don't know. Something.
Fair
All
enough.
right. Well, that ends that. It did not mean for the segment to be this long, but here we are. So, all right. Now we're just going to go through here, and we're going to pick. We're going to pick the division winners, and then same as last year. So I guess we'll need to pick. What are we looking at? 2 wild cards, 3 wild cards, right? 3 wild
Yeah,
cards.
I believe
so
so.
7. So 7 teams make the playoffs. Only the first team, number 1 seed gets the first round bye. All right. So we're going to give me your division winners out of the AFC East.
Out of the AFC East, division winner will be. I'm going to stick with the Buffalo Bills.
I'm going to stick with the Buffalo Bills as well. Yeah, it's going to be. That's a great division, man. That is a great division. All right, AFC North.
AFC North will be the Baltimore Ravens.
Okay, I knew you were going to go there.
It's an easy pick. Anyone who knows anything about football is clearly going to pick the Ravens. Yeah, I mean, this is not.
Yeah. I'm going to.
Your pick. Your turn. You just have
I'm
to
going to
say
go with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm
okay.
going with it.
Okay, so you just have no credibility at all then. Wow. Okay.
All right, well, we'll mark the tape. Just mark it.
It's marked.
That's a tough one because I wanted to go with the Bengals, but I'm gonna stick with my Steelers. All right, AFC South.
AFC South. Going Jags. Jacksonville Jaguars.
I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna stay with the Tennessee Titans, and here's why. Last year, they were that last game of the year. If they would have won that, they would have won the division. They had Josh Dobbs in there playing on 10. He was there in that building for all of 10 days. Yeah. So with a healthy Tannehill, a healthy DeAndre Hopkins, and then, of course, with Derrick Henry being healthy, you move Treylon Burks into that second receiver role.
That'd be a big help.
I'm going to stick with them until I see the Jags go back-to-back years. Jags have always had these, 1 year here or there. I'm going to stick with the Titans.
Nice.
All right, AFC West.
AFC West. I mean, look, I'm going to ride till the wheels fall off with the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, it's just you can't bet against them at this point.
Yeah.
Again, we just talked about it, right? Best coach, best quarterback. That's what you want to bet on. That's what they have.
That's it. Now you do look at teams, like the Broncos are going to have an easier schedule, than the Chiefs. Every year we talk about them. The San Diego Chargers. I guess they're not San Diego anymore, are they? The Los Angeles Chargers. I got to stick with Kansas City. I want to go upset there, but I'm not going to do it this year.
Yeah.
All right. NFC East. This is always something that just gets, tossed and turned around. Do you see the Eagles losing this division?
I think the division could be tight. I'm still going to give the edge to the Eagles. Just
Yeah.
on talent, I'm going to give it to the Eagles.
Yeah, same. This one's interesting. Because I legit think you could make a case for any of these teams. The NFC North.
Yeah. This is a tough one. This is really tough. I'm gonna go Detroit here, but I definitely there is a part of me that wants to go that upset special and go Chicago. But I'm gonna go Detroit here.
All right. I'm probably gonna surprise you here a little bit. Maybe I'm going with the Green Bay Packers.
Oh, okay, nice.
And I know you said that's an infinitesimal chance, but I think until they prove otherwise that they can't draft quarterbacks, I think Jordan Love steps in and just takes over. I really do. I think I just learning behind Rodgers, same way Favre did. I think I'm going to go Green Bay Packers. I don't trust Detroit. I don't trust Detroit the same way as I don't trust Jacksonville. And Minnesota, we talked about. We think they got worse. So I'm going to say Green Bay sneaks in there. This is probably going to be in my opinion, this is going to be the funnest division. The NFC South.
Yeah, so for me, this is a good division. I'm between two teams here, and it is a tough pick for me.
Now, none of them finished above 500 last year.
Right, yeah.
And yes. The team that finished 8-9 and won the division had Tom Brady as their quarterback. So, but they all finished one game of each other.
Yeah, I mean, it was an incredibly close division, and so then I have to think, like, look, man, I'm gonna go a little bit of an upset here. I think I'm gonna go Atlanta Falcons. I think I'm gonna go Atlanta Falcons here. I really struggle with this.
So you believe in Desmond Ridder, is what you're saying?
I believe that Desmond Ridder has possibility, but then I look at the other weapons on the team, and they have a lot of them. Between Drake London and Bijan Robinson, I mean, they are a young, explosive team that seemed to get progressively better last year. Look, I know it's an upset pick. My heart says, or my mind, I guess, my brain says, pick Carolina. It's the Carolina Panthers. But I'm gonna go upset special here. I'm going with the Atlanta Falcons.
Okay, I mean, to me, Bijan was a luxury pick that I the same ways I thought I love. I love Najee Harris. I love him as a Pittsburgh Steeler, but he was a luxury pick that the Steelers didn't have the luxury of taking. The Atlanta Falcons already had the number one rushing offense. You can't get any better. You had a rookie in Tyler Algier who just lit the league up last year, plus Cordero Patterson. So I just didn't quite understand the Bijan Robinson pick. I'm not sold on Desmond Ridder at this point. I am sold on Derek Carr, however, and that's why I'm going to take the New Orleans Saints.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm going to take them. They finished 7-10 last year. Again, measly half a game out of first place. That could have gone either way. And I think just bringing in stability in Derek Carr makes that team much better. And then the NFC West.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is tough. Again, it's a two-team race here. Look, I've already picked my upset. I'm going to stay with the Niners, but I think it's going to be closer than people are giving it credit for. I think there's another certain team out there that could surprise some folks.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Niners as well. I just would have to see multiple years of Geno Smith to be able to pick them. However, that receiving core of Seattle is going to be nasty. Yep. And if Geno plays the way he did last year, is he better than Brock Purdy? I think so. I mean, I
Yeah,
really do.
very
And just if
possible.
nothing else, just for experience alone. Um, so and then Brock Purdy started what 8 games last year. He's coming, basically he's coming off Tommy John surgery.
Right.
So how is that arm going to be? He didn't
There's a lot of
really play
unknowns.
a ton in the preseason. Are they going to ask him to throw that ball 30 times a game, 40 times a game? You got the whole Nick Bosa situation hanging over
Yeah.
their heads. They're just so talented on that team. But yeah, Seattle is right there for me.
Yep.
It just, again, it just really depends on, is Geno 1 year wonder, or did we really find something in Geno Smith? I mean, you paid him like you believe, he's good. You don't believe that he's MVP worthy, but you believe that he's could be your quarterback to take you back into the playoffs again. So
Yeah. You believe he's good. You don't believe he's great.
that's exactly it.
Yeah.
All right. So what would be in the AFC your 3 wild card teams?
I mean, this is incredibly difficult.
This is, I think, this is even more difficult than I think picking the division winners, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, look, I know 3 that make the most sense to me, but there are 5. Man, it's impossible. Look, I'm going to go Bengals. I don't want to, but I have to. Then I'm really torn between the Dolphins and the Jets. I think I'm going to stick with the Dolphins. And then this is, again, incredibly challenging because now I'm between the Broncos and the Titans. But I'm going to give it to the Broncos, I think. Not because I think they're better than the Titans,
Wow.
but because of those division games, I just feel like, those division games are a little bit easier, not against the Chiefs, but, they're going to have games against the Chargers and the Raiders. Man, I don't know. That's tough, man. That's tough, but I'll stick with it.
Yeah,
I know the argument for the Titans, obviously. I mean, you're playing against the Colts and the Texans, right? You should be able to stack wins on those
stack
guys,
wins there. Yeah, I mean, that's theoretically 4 wins, if you think, you're that much better than them. So, I mean, that's huge. And then if you split with Jacksonville, that's 5 wins just in the division. So, I mean, that goes a long, long way. So yeah, I agree. All right. So I have Buffalo winning the division. I don't know how you can't pick. I mean, the Jets finished 7-10 last year. I got to go Jets as one of the wild cards. I've got to go Baltimore as the other wild card, and then I've got to go. Oh my gosh.
This is tough.
Did the Chargers get markedly worse? I mean, did Cincinnati get markedly worse? I got to go Bengals, man. I see just 3 teams coming out of the North. I really do.
Very possible.
That is very, very biased. I'm sure. I'm positive. I mean, because that's the division that I watch all the time. However, I can also see the North being just beating each other up and splitting all those. And if that's the case, 3 teams aren't going to come out of the North, and you're going to see the Chargers sneak in. So I'm going to go. I'm going to go the Jets. God, how do you leave Miami out, though? I really don't know.
It's tough.
Can 3 teams come out of the East there? They're going to beat each other up. And you can't think, like, New England's not going to be a pushover. Gosh, man. Yeah, I'll stick with it. I don't like it already. I don't like it, but I'm going to go the Jets. I'm going to go Baltimore, and I'm going to go Cincinnati as the wild card.
Nice. Tough picks.
Yeah.
Tough picks.
Now, what have we got in the East? Or I'm sorry. The East. Yeah. No, the NFC. What am I thinking? Yeah, the NFC. Sorry. Wild cards.
NFC wild cards. Boy. I think I'm going to go Giants.
Made it last year.
I'm going to go Seahawks.
Made it last year.
This is where it gets very challenging. I think I will go Carolina.
Okay.
A lot of good choices out there. I mean, there's so many. Yeah, a lot to pick.
My gosh. I'm going to go Dallas. I'm going to go Seattle. I'm not going to like this. I'm torn here. I really am torn. This is shaping up to be a fantastic football season. It really is. I mean, of course, things are going to happen, and I'm sure it's all going to end up the same way as it was last year. But gosh, man, this is really tough because I seriously could see the NFC East having 3 teams come out of there again.
Yep.
Now, is it the Giants or is it Washington?
I know. I had a little pause looking at Washington.
And what I mean, I'm not sure if it still holds exactly true, but I mean, it's been pretty much 50% of the teams that make the playoffs one year don't make it the next year.
Yeah.
So someone's going to fall off, but I'm going to stick with the Giants. I'm going to stick with it, but I think the wild cards to me is a complete wild card. I'm not sure. So. All right. So who do we have coming out? Again? All right. So I went with Dallas. I went with the Giants, and I went with Seattle, which is exactly what it was last year. And so I'm 100% sure I'm going to be wrong. And then I went with Cincinnati, Baltimore, and the Jets.
Perfect.
In the AFC.
All right.
All right. Who's coming out of the AFC?
Oh, man. I mean, are we going right to the Super Bowl?
We're just, we're not going to figure out matchups. Because who knows how that's going to play off?
Right.
Who's the best?
Look, I mean, I want to pick someone else, but I think I got to stick with Kansas City. I think I have to.
Ugh. It's just such an easy pick. I don't
know how to bet against them. That's the problem.
That's exactly it. Tell me how. I mean, I guess I don't know. I don't know how you bet against them not to go back. I mean, they're just that. And I don't even know that they're that great of a team. I guess maybe Chandler holds out for 8 games and that defense really suffers and it just becomes a shootout every single week. Which at that point you're leaving, Mahomes open to possible injuries. If you're passing the ball 50 times a game, I mean, you're going to be blitzed a lot in that situation. So can he withstand that and be able to get through the season healthy? I mean, your backup is Blaine Gabbert, so he's not taking you to the Super Bowl. I'm sorry.
Well, let's look at it like this. Let's look at it like this really quickly. I'm just going to rattle off the Chiefs, the opponents. You tell me how many of these games the Chiefs would lose. The Lions, the Jags, the Bears, the Vikings, the Jets, Broncos, Chargers, Dolphins, Broncos, Eagles, Raiders, Packers, Bills, Patriots, Raiders, Bengals, Chargers. There are 4 losses in there?
Yeah, the Bills maybe. I mean, honestly, your division games. I mean, you possibly, are going to be tougher this year. No, you're not. I mean, they're favored in every game. Like they're going to be favored in every game. If Mahomes is healthy, they're favored in every single game. Yeah, I'm going to go Kansas City as well. I don't know how you choose against them. I really just don't know how you pick against them. And I want to because I don't know that I want this type of stability
right.
in an NFL franchise unless it's my team.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they will. I think something will happen. But I mean, how many times did Andy Reid take the Eagles to the the NFC Championship games. I mean, yeah. All right, we'll just go with them. With the caveat that who would be your if it wasn't the Chiefs, who would it be? This is how good the Chiefs are that we're saying.
Yeah.
If it can't be them, then who else could it be?
You know, it is a struggle for me because I am between a few teams here. I like if it's not the Chiefs, just looking at these teams, man, I call me a homer, but I like the Ravens. I like the Ravens because for me, it's I look at it and I'm going to say this super briefly. I look at this and I say it's Buffalo, Miami, the Jets, right? 3 teams out of the AFC East. Who else am I going to put in there? Maybe Tennessee, right? Maybe Denver. But if I look at the rosters side by side of those matchups with Baltimore against any one of those teams, and I look at their rosters, I go, man, on a lot of those, Baltimore has the more talented roster. Okay, well, let's throw that. Who has the better quarterback? Well, okay, maybe you could say, a couple of them are comparable, maybe a little bit better, just depending. And then it comes to the head coach, right? So it's like I go through that, and they're just, is Lamar Jackson better than Tua? Yeah, right. I mean, and so when I start going through, that's how I pick. So I'd probably go Baltimore.
All right. I mean, the homer in me wants to take the Steelers, and I will not be the only person that would have taken the Steelers to actually go to the Super Bowl and win it. There are many a pundit out there that believe it, but I won't go that far. I won't be quite that homer that you are. I will say if the Chiefs can't win it, it will be the Buffalo Bills.
Mm.
They're very talented.
Yeah.
You do get Von Miller back at some point this year. That defense is going to be much better. So I would say if it can't be the Chiefs, I believe it will be the Bills.
Nice.
And then in the NFC, we'll be looking at going to the Super Bowl.
I mean, this is an impossible pick because the biggest question for me then when I look at this is who is better than the Philadelphia Eagles? And there's only one team right now as we sit here today that I think is going to be there with them, and that's the 49ers. And there are so many unknowns with the Niners, which makes me want to pick the Eagles again. Like I don't want to pick the Eagles again. But my desire to not pick the Eagles again is why I would pick the Niners, not because of the Niners roster and their abilities. There's so many unknowns right now with Nick Bosa holding out. We have no idea how Purdy's going to come back from that elbow injury. There's just there are all these things that are unknowns. You don't have those same unknowns in Philadelphia right now. Injuries may come up, but you don't have those right now.
Well, see, here's where your injuries are going to come up at, and this is the biggest part of the Eagles' offense is that run game. So you lose Miles Sanders, and you bring in DeAndre Swift, and you bring in Rashad Penny. Talent-wise, you couldn't ask for 2 better backs. I mean, Rashad Penny, I think, averages like 5.6 yards per carry for his career. The problem is he plays 6 games a year. And the same with DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift has all the talent in the world to be a top 5 running back in this league, but it's health. And you brought in, you let Miles Sanders go. He signs a big contract in Carolina. You decide that his production's not worth it, his steadiness isn't worth it, and you bring in 2 people that are just injured all the time. I mean, it's one of those that's a huge question mark for me. I mean, it really is a team that's predicated on the run. That's big. Rashad Penny played, oh goodness, we'd have to go back and look at his stats, but I want to say he played 5 games last year. And then DeAndre Swift, he played a few more games than that, I do believe, but he didn't play a lot. I guarantee he didn't play a ton of games last year. I want to say last year he played 14 games. So, he played a decent amount, right? So it's not like he didn't play a lot, but he still missed 3 games. That's a big question mark. So if you were going to pick, if there was a reason to pick against the Eagles, it would be that they downgraded at the running back position just based on injuries and the availability of those guys, because your third running back is Boston Scott and is not going to get the job done. So you're going to pick the Eagles?
I think I'm going to stick with. I think I'm going to stick with the Eagles, man. I want to pick the Niners, but I think I just, if I knew nothing about it, because I'm not like, it feels weird that I would call for a rematch of last year's Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But if I knew nothing and it was totally in a vacuum and I'm only picking the best teams in each, that's where I end up.
Has that happened? I'm sure it has. Like, is that
right? Super Bowl rematches back to back.
Yeah.
I don't remember it ever happening.
I'm just trying to think, like,
and
all
it
those
won't
Bills.
happen.
Right.
Like, it definitely won't happen this year. There's no chance it's going to happen. But if I'm just looking at it on paper, I mean, that's who I arrive at.
All right. We can't have the same picks. So I'm going to go with the San Francisco 49ers. Well, that's me saying Brock Purdy is the real deal. He's, he is the second coming of Tom Brady, and, that offense and defense, they're going to get Nick Bosa figured out. They're going to get Kittle healthy. They're going to keep him healthy, and that wide receiver core is going to stay healthy as well. Deebo's not going to be out. They're all going to take that next level, that next step. That offense is scary. Those teams are healthy. Yeah. That team is scary.
Yeah. I mean, they have a phenomenally talented team, and there's every possibility that could be your NFC Championship game is Eagles-Niners. I mean, there's every possibility. So, there we have it.
All right. And then your Super Bowl winner.
Again, I'm not going to pick against the Chiefs until they give me a reason not to. I'm going to go Kansas City Chiefs win again.
All right. Oh, it's so boring. But I mean, I don't know how you pick it. I don't know how you pick against them. Yeah. I'll do the same. No, you know what? San Francisco pulls it out. This is, nice. This is John Lynch and Shanahan saying, yeah, we messed up with Trey Lance, but we can mess up and we're still that good. So, all right, I'll go with the San Francisco 49ers.
Well, there you have it. So the picks are in. Picks are in. There we have it. And so now that you have heard our picks, now's the time to liquidate the kids' college funds and start putting those bets on there, because we have laid it out for you division by division, team by team, who got better, who got worse, who's winning the divisions, who's in the wild card, and who is heading to the Super Bowl, which Super Bowl this year happens to be in Las Vegas. So get your tickets ready soon, because you will want to be there in Vegas at Allegiant Stadium. I'm definitely looking forward to going to another Super Bowl to see the Ravens win, and I expect that I will be there.
Sure, that'll happen.
Technically, I didn't pick them.
Yeah, you didn't even pick them to win.
I didn't pick them, but I'm planning my trip. I'm making my travel plans.
Already making it. Yep. Just pay for the insurance money. Just pay that insurance, travel insurance, and you'll be fine.
All right. Well, listen, that's going to probably just about wrap it up for us. One thing that I wanted to touch on just briefly is that while we are having a sports show weekly from now on, it will not be like this every week. We will have kind of the flavor of our normal show. So it'll be sports headlines, what we've seen, funny stories, interesting facts, and then of course keeping up to date with the games and and those types of things. So it'll be interesting stuff from the weekend before, Monday Night Football, those types of things. But of course putting our own "you get the horns" spin on it. So make sure you stay tuned. We'll get progressively better and better at it as time goes on, and certainly a little bit better on time as well. Or at least we will endeavor to. We've consistently 100% of the time failed at doing a good job of being timely with the show. No reason to believe that that'll change. But we certainly appreciate our global audience for checking in and rolling with us through some of these exciting changes. Before we wrap it up, anything you want to close with?
Nope, I'm good. Let's get this season started, man. I'm excited.
Absolutely, man. Well, just for one last little bit, let's get the blood pumping for the NFL season opener this Thursday night. Okay, that's all we're allowed to play. Whoa.
We might have to go in and back that out.
The lawyers are going to be on us on. I thought I accidentally double clicked. That was a mistake. Whoa. Yikes. That's going to hurt. That's going to hit the pocketbook.
Yeah.
That's fine season has already started. NFL season's about to kick off. We're going to be getting a fine from the commissioner. So anyway, that's it for us. Stick with us. We'll do better next time, and we'll look forward to talking with you next week. Thank you, everybody.
Good night.